Somebody set upstairs. Why are you here? Like that? Where is he? That's like that's an hour.
Well, thank you for all coming this evening. Welcome to our first seminar in our spring science seminar schedule here. It's always hard to get the first person to go, and everybody wants to leave. So you're stuck with people like me for the first day. Okay? So we do have lots of good stuff coming up this semester. So next week we have someone from Analab down the road. They're going to come talk about water quality. Big deal if you're in West Virginia now, right? So you might want to come and hear about that. We got stuff. We got an astronaut speaking on Zero Growth Corporation. We got Dr. Armstrong from the math department coming back. We got a guy from the University of North Texas talking about colors and life with respect to chemistry. We got interstellar space vehicles running off fusion reactions. Yeah, you want to come for that kind of stuff. So lots of good stuff coming up, and even more in April. You can pull down there a little bit. Even more things in April. So lots of good stuff. Put Thursday on your calendar, right? Be here for science seminars, and you will be happy people as a result of it. Yes? Yes. No. All right, so tonight, it's my pleasure to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Steve. And I'm going to talk to you about topless dancing girls and naked boys. Okay? Running on the beach. I thought I'd get a bigger crowd. I don't like that. Hey, you know. Okay. All right. So a long, long time ago, when I was about your age, I was contemplating what I want to do with the rest of my life. Okay? And one of the opportunities back then was to go into the Peace Corps. Okay? And I think that's a good opportunity. And so this is Peace Corps week or month or something like that. And so all we returned Peace Corps volunteers are sharing our experiences and encouraging young, smart, creative, adventurous students such as yourself to go out into the world and appreciate it for yourself. Okay? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my life in the Peace Corps. Okay? And if you're living out in the Pacific, where I was in the Peace Corps, one thing you have to do when anybody comes is to perform a welcome dance to greet you. So this is a typical Kitty Boss welcome dance. quite a while. But you can see that if you are trained at a Christian college such as your own, you're at a disadvantage with respect to going to the islands, because you guys don't have any dance one-on-one class or anything. Right? So, but if you're greeted out there in the islands with that dance, it's a very magical sort of thing, and something that you won't forget. Okay? Why did I go in the Peace Corps? Well, back when I was a little bit younger than you, I read this little book called The Ugly American, written in '58, okay? And it talks all about how Americans are ugly with respect to how they behave overseas. And back then it was, you know, the Russians versus the Americans for the world, right? And the Russians were culturally sensitive to these things, stuff like that. Americans weren't, and that's why the Americans were losing. So you have this image of the ugly American who goes in someplace where he doesn't know what he's doing, doesn't speak the language, doesn't know what's going on, tries to make things go his way, and everybody gets upset with him. And I thought that was a sad, sad picture of America, and I hope to do something better than that. And when the Peace Corps came along, I thought, well, that's a good way to be an unugly American. Okay? So, Peace Corps began back in 1961 under then President Kennedy. Okay? And there's a nice little video of him talking about this. Let's see how this works.
At President Kennedy's news conference in Washington, the chief executive announces the creation of a Peace Corps to help the developing countries of the world.
I have today signed an executive order providing for the establishment of a Peace Corps on a temporary pilot basis. I'm also sending to Congress a message proposing authorization of a permanent Peace Corps. This Corps will be a pool of trained men and women sent overseas by the United States government or through private institutions and organizations to help foreign countries meet their urgent needs for skilled manpower. It is our hope to have between 500 to 1,000 people in the field by the end of this year. We will send Americans abroad who are qualified to do a job. We will send those abroad who are committed to the concept which motivates the Peace Corps. It will not be easy. None of the men and women will be paid a salary. They will live at the same level as the citizens of the country which they're sent to, doing the same work, eating the same food, speaking the same language. We're going to put particular emphasis on those men and women who have skills in teaching, agriculture, and in health.
Okay, so that was Kennedy announcing the formation of the Peace Corps, and it's been around ever since. So 61, now it's what, 14, that's how many years? Yeah, 50, yeah, so quite a few years there, right? Okay, so since then, you know, other people have talked about the Peace Corps. Carter, another Democratic president. The spirit of the Peace Corps springs from the deepest wells in our culture, from the reasoned and strongly felt impulses of our people to share with their neighbors, their caring, and their labor. And it's not just Democrats that supported the Peace Corps. Here's Ronald Reagan, you know, Republican of Republicans. Each one of us is responsible for building the society we want. Peace Corps volunteers do that with people-to-people exchanges, using their energy, their spirit, and their creativity to solve problems. This is the American way. Woo! That's red, white, and blue, isn't it? Okay. Well, here we go. Okay, so what are the official goals of the Peace Corps? Well, there are 3 of them. One is to provide the appropriate technology or technical support for the host country. Okay. Allow other countries to get to know Americans and learn about American culture. And then the third one is to bring back that international experience to the U.S. through talks like this one to you guys, so you can learn what I learned as a Peace Corps volunteer. And then maybe you'll be less ugly as Americans when you go out there into the world, because you'll be more knowledgeable about the world than just here. Okay, so my Peace Corps adventure. So when I was about your age, as a senior in college, I applied to the Peace Corps. Back then it took a long time, like 7, 8 months to go through the process. So I took a summer job while I was waiting for results. During the summer, was accepted, and they gave me an invitation. We didn't have the World Wide Web back then, so I had to go to the library to look up this thing called Kitty Boss, because I had never heard of it before. And it looked like a nice place out in the Pacific, so hey, it could be worse. So yeah, there I went. And so then they told me, well, you got to take your wisdom teeth out if you want to go, and that was a bummer. But anyway, so that's my story. So if you're a junior or a senior here at LeTourneau, you might think about, starting that process, because it takes a little while, so you might want to work through it. Okay? And we have had a number of Peace Corps volunteers from LeTourneau in the past, right? And it's a much better system now than it was back when I was your age. And we can talk more about that later. So where did I go? Where is Kitty Boss? Okay? Well, here's Kitty Boss out in the middle of the ocean. You see Hawaii there. Is it working? Yeah, it does. Hawaii's up there, Australia's over there, so if you fly from Hawaii to Australia and you fall out halfway, you'll drop down. All right. Okay. All right, so there we go. There's a zooming in of in the middle of the Pacific here. So lots of little islands, nations out there in the Pacific. Up here is Johnston Atoll, where they destroyed all the chemical weapons from the U.S. there. Johnston Atoll, that's an interesting place to be. Okay. Kitty Boss is actually three groups. This is a group called the Line Islands, and there's another group, the Phoenix Islands over here, and the third group over here called the Gilbert Islands. Okay? And from here to here, all the way across the country of Kitty Boss is about the same size as from California to New York. Yes? So if you think about that, and you think about little islands speckled in there somewhere that add up to about 300 square miles, okay? That's Kitty Boss. Okay? So this is what these islands look like from the air. The little atolls. The coral that grow up around the mountain. So the outer edge here is coral. Yes? And you've got a lagoon inside, passages that run water into and out of. Okay? Things like that. Get a little bit closer in, line gets a little lower, and you can start seeing islands like this. And like that. And then underneath, they're all coral atolls, right? So that's what coral looks like under the water, right? Can't see that from the plane, but if you get off the plane and jump underwater, you see things like this. Okay? So here's some different islands in the Kitty Boss group. Okay? Again, 3 different groups of islands, about 32 islands altogether. The big group of islands is the Gilbert Islands over there. Okay? And that's what we'll talk mostly about. Okay? Christmas Island over here is one of the biggest atolls in the world. Okay? And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit here. That's where the British tested their atomic bomb out there in the middle of the Pacific on Christmas Atoll. I don't think they did it on Christmas Day, but they did do it out there. Okay? Where the Americans test their atomic bomb on? Bikini Atoll, up in the Marshalls, just north of Kitty Boss a little bit. Okay? What are these British and Americans? They can't find their own place to test their own bombs? They're going to blow up somebody else's neighborhood? Okay. Anyway, there's lots of good fishing there on Christmas Island yet. Big fishing adventure place now. Rich people jet into there and land and go fishing off the reefs and stuff. Okay. Right. Local guys fish from an outrigger canoe like this. Okay. Most people find their fish on a daily basis, sort of thing. Okay. Here's a bunker on the island of Tarawa, which is at the other end of Kitty Boss. That's a bunker built by the Japanese. And it's like 6 feet thick in concrete. And some of you may remember that Battle of Tarawa from your studies of World War II. Yes? Or maybe the Battle of Iwo Jima. Sands of Iwo Jima, remember? Who was that? John Wayne in there? Well, Sands of Iwo Jima, you got these big boats that come up, and then the thing flops open in the front, right? And they all run out on the beach. Yes? Remember that from the movies? Okay? Well, the Battle of Tarawa was before they had those cool things, right? And what happened is, the Marines came in on boats, and they got stuck on the reef, right? And so they had to get out of their boats and walk in the water about this deep about a mile out into the bullets of the Japanese guns, right? Yes, it wasn't very pretty. 2,000-3,000 Marines died, about 7,000 Japanese died. Very bloody place. And those Japanese bunkers are still there. Yep, but now they're surrounded by water. Before they weren't. 60, 70 years ago, right? Interesting place. Yep. Anyway, here's the airport to land in. And the airport's a big place. Everybody wants to see who's coming in on the plane. So there'll be all these people, climbing around there, hoping to get a glimpse of their relative or something as they come. And of course, they'll be greeted by dancing girls. At some point, when you come there, you just have to do that. It's like shaking hands, right? Okay? All right, more dancing girls. Dancing girls are a big part of life. Okay. There's dancing boys too, and we're going to get to those in a minute. Girls, so don't think I'm picking out somebody else, right? You all here are dancing boys. Okay? So here's some more dancing girls. All right. All right, talking about dancing girls, let's do it. Here we go. All right. Okay, this is a more modern dancing girl thing now, or contemporary makeover of this. Okay? This is sort of the hipsters' version of about dancing and rock now. The dancing girls in the background. Grabby dancing girls. So I kind of like this because it's kind of a mix of contemporary time plus the old time tradition, okay, mixed together, which is what you see a lot of in developing countries. You see both the old time tradition stuff and new stuff all the time, okay? And I advertised topless dancing girls. I delivered, right? Here they are. So little kids, you know, from the age of little on up, they want to be dancing girls and dancing boys, singing and dancing. That's it. You know, Christmas time, 2 weeks solid, singing and dancing. That's all that happens. Nothing else, I tell you. Okay, so singing and dancing is part of your life, and that's why it's part of these presentations. It could be otherwise, right? That's life in the islands. And the Kiribati dancing, Micronesian dancing, okay, is different from your Polynesian hula dancing, which is very sloppy, right? Note that Micronesian dancing, which is what Kiribati people are, Micronesians, their dancing is very tight, very controlled, very exact in all its motions. Okay? Much harder dancing to do than that sloppy hula stuff that you see in Hawaii, right? Okay. But guys dance too. Okay? Here are some guys. Okay, and so let's watch some dancing boys. Here. All right? Okay? All right, here we go.
Oh, gosh.
You know that belt that these guys wear around them to hold the mats on there? Those belts are made of the hair of all their women relatives, sisters, cousins, cool stuff like that. I like this video because it's an interesting juxtaposition of the old traditional costumes and dances that are hundreds and hundreds of years old. And in the background you have all these modern structures, guy, modern clothes, you know, making a hipster sort of beat to this old ancient stuff. It's kind of like hooked on classics. Ever hear that? Yeah? So, interesting, I think. I don't know if you guys like it? No comment? All right, well, let's move on then, okay. So that was Dancing Boys. So here's a typical sort of community type building on the island where people would do their dancing practice, choir practice, and stuff like this. And most evenings if you walk by, you'd hear groups working on their dancing choir. There'd be competitions between villages, and that's why Christmas goes on for a couple of weeks, because you have all this dancing and singing competition, right? Here you've got a more modern building with respect to materials, but the same sort of design. Yeah, you can see the corrugated steel roof type thing here, and wooden beams and stuff like that, and a cement floor. But the structure design of the building is still the same as it was in this other picture over here, where everything, except for the cement posts here, made out of local materials. Okay? So again, you know, traditions and modern world comes together at the same time. Here's a Ladies' Aid Society meeting in a church building. Okay, so most of these big buildings have open walls, the breeze just comes right through them, right? And people bring in their sitting mats and sit on the floor, and you get a big, you know, botaki, as it's called, with people hanging out. Here's some big government building, right? So they have a few of those around. Okay, here's a drawing of what the new government building was supposed to look like. I never saw it, so I left long before then. Okay? Here is the government high school, King George V, and EBS is some queen that was in England. I forget which one it is. Okay? Right? Okay? And high school is an interesting place. Everybody wears uniforms. They're all boarding schools, and probably 10% of the children who get out of elementary school get a chance to go to high school. So if you go to high school, you're in the top 10% of your class nationally, and you are pretty much a big shot by the time you get to high school. It's kind of like getting into fraternal college or something, right? Yeah? No? Okay. So anyway, here's the island of Tarawa, okay? And it's the capital of Kiribati, okay? Down here is where those big government buildings and stuff are. Here's the island of Basio, where those Japanese bunkers were, and all the Marines died and stuff like this. And this whole little bit of the island here is all connected by causeways at the time that I lived there. And this part up here, you can see the passages between the islets are much larger, and so they weren't connected by causeways. And I lived up there in the village of DeBoer, okay? It was called North Tarawa, or Tarawa Te Naeta, the top of the sail, okay, so to speak. If this is the sail, this is the bottom of your sail. That's the top of the sail. Okay, I live in the top of the sail, and it's kind of like, you know, living in an entire different world than from down here. Down here, they got buses and electricity on the grid. Up there, you know, there's nothing. Okay, as you will see here in just a second. Okay, so here's a typical sort of, you know, Tarawa view. Okay, you got a house and a canoe, right? Yes. If you're a rich family, you got 2 canoes, right? Yep. Okay. And how you get around on the island is, you know, either you ride a bus if you're in South Tarawa, or somehow else, you know, you hitch a ride on something else. And I never saw a tractor this nice on my island. Okay. So we had an island, and there were 3 vehicles on it. One was a truck owned by the school that I worked with. One was a truck owned by the town council. And then there was some other truck there, I forget where it was. But most of the time, there was one of them that was working. Okay? And when that one broke, well, they looked at the other 2 and see which one would be easiest to fix. Get that one working, and it broke, and you know how these things go, right? Okay? So anyway, never saw a tractor that nice. All right. So this is a typical sort of house in the islands that I lived in. And Tarawa Te Naieta, North Tarawa, is known for their double-story houses. Okay? Every island has their own house designs. Okay? And Tarawa is known for double-story houses. Okay? So this is a two-story, 4-bedroom, 2-bath type house in suburban Washington, D.C. type of place, right? Okay. So how do you get to North Tarawa? Well, you can take a sailing canoe, which is the scenic way to do it, and very nice and relaxing. Okay? Right? Or you can ride in a motorboat with this guy. Right? You don't have your own sailing canoe. Okay? And he'll charge a small fee to ferry you around wherever you have to go. And this is what it looks like as you're out there on the lagoon, and sharks and turtles and things are swimming around underneath you, and dolphins are swimming out ahead of you. Okay? See these little ribbon of land out there ahead of you, and it gradually gets a little bit bigger as you approach it. And then you come into your house and beach your canoe, and have a cup of tea with somebody at their house, right? There you go. This is my house. I had a cedar block type house there. Okay, very nice house. Okay, had a kerosene stove and a kerosene refrigerator. Okay, and yeah, stuff like that. I'll show you some more pictures of it here. Lots of coconuts. Okay, coconut is what you eat, kind of like the bread of life, the coconut of life. Yes. Mm-hmm. Take, eat, remember, and believe. Don't do that with bread. You do it with what? Coconuts. Yeah. I mean, island people never heard of bread. I mean, what's that? That's so European. But hey, coconut, yeah. Coconut of life, that makes sense. Okay? And there's my transportation, a bike. Okay? New Zealand bike. And I was quite wealthy to have a New Zealand bike. A lot of the bikes out there were these crappy Chinese things that fell apart really easily. So if you're out in the islands, make sure you get a New Zealand bike, not one of those crappy Chinese things. Okay? All right. So here's sort of my back porch, and that's where I slept most nights out there on the back porch. Okay? Nice and cool. And you wear a mosquito net over you at night so you don't get stung by mosquitoes and catch that terrible thing, dengue fever, that everybody seems to get. I think they just think they got it. I never got sick, so I don't know. Okay. So anyway, this is my backyard. The view from my backyard here. Okay. And they put Europeans like me out on the ocean side of your island. Okay. So if we just take a look a minute here at the structure of an atoll. Okay. We'll go through that in a second. Okay. All right, so here's Google Earth, right? Here's an atoll. This is the atoll of Tarawa. Okay? This is kind of fun. You can run along these things and follow the archipelago, right, as you go. Yes? So all these little atolls you see, okay? Here's your little strip of land here. And then this is the mountain that comes up and the coral grows around it, and the mountain sinks and the coral keeps growing. And so you got the ocean out here, and then you got the lagoon in there where it's shallower, and then you got ocean side again. And so I was up there, toward that little block up there, okay, and they put me on the ocean side of the island, because that's where the ocean breaks on the reef, and it's noisy. But if you live on the lagoon side of the island, it's nice and peaceful and fun. And locals don't like to live on the ocean side of the island, because it's noisy. Who wants to live on a noisy road, right? And also because that's the side of the island that the spirits walk up on, following the archipelago up to the land of Matong. And you don't want spirits walking by your house. So we'll put those Europeans out there, because they don't know any better, right? Okay. So that's kind of nice, isn't it? Yeah. All right. So let's go back. Oh, I'm in the wrong machine. All right, that's why. Let's go back here. Now let's see where I'm at. Okay. There we go. All right, so Oceanside over there. Another view from my backyard. Here's a little passage that runs from the lagoon to the ocean. There's some neighbor's house with a few brave guys who dared live on the ocean side. Right? Here's more views from my backyard. This is the big church in town, big Catholic church. And that's usually about the only permanent type structure you'd see. People spend lots of money building a big church, and there it was. Okay? And here's looking out over the lagoon. Okay? And here's typical sort of kids walking around. Okay? Aren't they cute? Adorable? I mean, aren't they? Adorable? Come on. Ooh, no. Cute. Adorable. Yeah, they are. They're cute and adorable. And I did advertise naked boys running on the beach, didn't I? Here they are. Okay? And so most boys before school age run around naked for the most part, right? Of course, if someone's going to take their picture, they're going to cover up their private parts. But otherwise, you know, they just run around naked all over the place, okay? And saves on diapers and stuff like that. Okay? And it's warm enough, so no big deal, right? Okay? So there you go. Here are some village girls from the village that I lived in. Okay? More village girls. I had a thing for girls back then, right? Okay. That's me, by the way. Yeah? You don't recognize that? You're me. Yeah. Back then. Yeah. I told you this was a long time ago. Yeah. You know, one of the things about being a foreigner in another country is the girls are a lot more interested in you than they were when you were in your own country. Yes? And I assume the same thing works for girls when they go to another country. Oh, let's check out that foreign girl. Let's check out the foreign guy, right? Okay, so, you know, guys, you know, it's been tough here at Laterno. Join the Peace Corps. All right. So more village girls here. Okay, more village girls. Well, these are some little girls that would come and pick the berries off my bush, right? Okay, and they give me some of the jam that they'd make from it later on. Okay, these are some of the town village boys that have come by to play. Okay, another village kid. Kids who play out in the lagoon all the time. You can see some boats way out there. Yep, they're trying to get the attention of the kids out there in the boat who are coming into the school. Okay, and you can see the boat gets nearer, right? Everybody's saying, "Yay, yay, the boat's coming!" Woo! Okay, here they come, and see the boat's pretty full. See the big boat back there? This is the ferry boat that goes back and forth to the big boat back there because they can't get in that close. And this is how the kids come to school, the school that I was teaching at. Okay? Because like I said, it was a boarding school, and you got to get there by boat. It was on North Tarlow. Okay? So they come on in, okay? All their earthly belongings, okay? Load them up on the shore, and then these are the typical sort of students that I had in school. Again, just like there is in the U.S., more women in college, there are more women in high school there in the islands than there were men. Okay? So here they are, the future leaders of the country. Okay? All right? Yes, more of them. So these are high school students at the high school that I was teaching at when I was there. Okay? And you can see some of them look a little Asian because there's a lot of Chinese influence through the Pacific. Okay? But here they are. These are typical kitty boss people. Okay? People that I taught a long, long time ago. Okay? Yeah, taught chemistry, and math, physics. Okay? Yep, yep. And here they are in their school uniforms. Okay? And here's another one in school. That's me again. Yeah, yeah. Here are some school boys, motley crew here. They're up in their dormitory here. Okay? I had to inspect their dorms to see if they're keeping them clean. Okay? After visiting them a couple times, I didn't dare go back. Right? There you go. More school peoples. Okay? All right. And here's typical school room. Right? Okay? There you go. Here's a mural painted on the side of the school with tanks coming in, representing World War II and all kinds of other neat stuff on it that you can't see because it's not there. More students that I taught way back when. It's kind of fun. Now I connect with them on Facebook. From 30 years ago, you know? Hey, Dr. DeBoer! They don't call me Dr. DeBoer, they call me something else. Hey, you Ematong, you remember me? Oh, yeah, I remember you. All right, okay. So more, this is another school room. Again, people wear uniforms in school. That's the thing to do. Okay? Here they are, they're studying this little book, and it's kind of hard to read what it says here. But I think it says something like some Form 5 review book or something. So they had this form system, like they have in Britain, and you had to take tests all the time to see if you went on. that at the end of 7th grade in elementary school, you took a test. And if you did well, well, then you could go on to high school. If you didn't do well, well, then they stuck you in junior high, okay? And you could do grade 8, 9, take another test, get your second chance at high school, and if you flunked that one, you know, if you were less than, you know, the 90% rank, too bad, okay? So, 2 tests, 2 chances to get into high school, right? Top 10% get in, okay? Then there's 3 years of high school, and they give you another test. That's what they call Form 3, and about half of you guys who were in Form 3 pass that test, and the remaining half go on to do Form 4 and Form 5. Okay? And after Form 5 there's another test, right? And about half of them pass the Form 5 test and go on to Form 6, okay, which is kind of like a grade 13 thing in Canada, Form 6. And then once they finish Form 6, then they try to get a scholarship to someplace overseas, you know, to New Zealand or Australia. So by the time you get a student who is going to New Zealand or Australia, he's probably the top 1% of the country, unlike how much percent of you guys in the States go to college, a lot more. Okay? So you guys have a lot more opportunities than are there in the island. So they take their tests and they take their school very seriously. I keep office hours at night, and there'd always be a line of students outside my door, you know, waiting to ask questions about things. Yes? Okay? They were very serious. You'd walk into the room and they'd get up and say, "Good morning, sir!" They would say every time. Okay? And when you leave the room, they say, "Goodbye, sir!" And you know, you guys go around room to room, but over there, then the teachers would go around from room to room. Okay? So very serious, hardworking, enthusiastic students. Only the best of the best here. Okay? There you go, more of them. Okay? Here's your typical, this was my science lab. Okay? We needed to have the hoods on, we just opened the walls. But who needs a wood? You don't have any, you don't need a hood. You don't have walls, right? Yes? Okay. So anyway, yeah. So that was my science lab there I taught at. Okay? This is school maniaba, school meeting hall, school gym, that sort of thing. Built out into a passage, so when the tide comes up, you're surrounded by water here. Kind of nice. Okay? Get a nice steel roof on it, cement pillars, but still in the traditional sort of design of a Pacific building. Okay? Some more pictures of that. And lots of choirs and dancing and choirs, right? That's all there is. If you guys can't sing or dance, forget it. You know, you're just, I don't know, you're second-class citizen or something then, right? You gotta be able to sing and dance, or at least fake it, okay? All right, so some common misconceptions about Kiribati people. One is Kiribati people are not starving. Lots of fish, lobsters, right? Crabs, all that good seafood stuff that you want, you can eat it. Yes, papaya, breadfruit, okay, toddy, sour toddy, you like that kind of stuff, okay? Kiribati people have homes, and the homes are very good for the climate that you live in. Okay? They're very comfortable. Okay? Kiribati people have Jesus. Oh, yes, they do. They have been well evangelized through the Pacific. Okay? Protestants, Catholics, Mormons, Baha'i. Okay? So certainly they have Jesus, and they have the Bible in their language and all of that. And very strong church traditions there. Okay? Kiribati people have health care. Free to everybody. Just go to the hospital if you're sick. No bills to fill out. Anything. Okay? They believe it's important to take care of each other. No rabies, no malaria, no hurricanes, no unadopted orphan children. Somebody's going to take care of them. There's no orphanage. Okay? No nursing homes. You take care of your old people. Okay? They don't go live in a nursing home. Your family, you take care of them. Okay? Can you say all that for the U.S.? In many ways, they are richer than we are in these regards. Okay? So who should feel sorry for who? They might feel sorry for us. Okay? Those are some misconceptions you can have. But there are areas for development, and that's why they invited me in there. Okay? Education, like I said, you know, maybe 10% at the time I was there were going on to get a high school education, and they wanted to do better. So they needed more high school teachers to teach people who could become high school teachers, right? And so that's why I was invited to come and teach science and math. They have population related issues. Okay? In the old days, okay, and still today, your children are your social security.